Okay, everybody, in this video we're going to talk about how to create an advertisement in the vein of Apple's old iPod advertisements. So what you first want to do is you want to take a photo of somebody using a product. You want to make sure that they have some sort of an active pose and think about how their pose will relate to them being a silhouette. So if you want to showcase their facial features, make sure they're turned to the side. Think about what's overlapping and what things will look like in the end. So here I'm already in Photoshop. I've got my image how I want it placed. I'm not really concerned too much about how the light looks on my subject or the background because that's going to be replaced, but I do want to make sure that my product itself looks good. So what I'm first going to do is get a good selection. I'm going to go to the select menu up at the top and say subject. We are now selecting our subject. Photoshop is going to look around at the image and try to detect where the edges are. Let's see how it does. Okay, and it did a pretty okay job. I don't see too many spots where it messed up. However, that said, I'm going to hit the mask button there. One thing I like to normally do for images like this is to always apply select and mask. So I'm going to come up here to the, whoops, we'll go into select and mask. You can also do this through the select menu up at the top, go to select and then select and mask. I changed mine from onion skin, which is the default, to black and white. I feel like that contrast gives me a better idea of where things are not working. And it looks like it's a pretty good, clean, clear selection. I'm going to up the smoothness just a little bit to make sure the edges are nice and smooth. And then I normally, if I have hair in my image, I go to this second tool right here, the Refine Edge Brush tool, and paint over the edges of the hair just to make sure that everything is pretty good. But like I said, Photoshop did a pretty good job of masking this precisely. We'll go ahead and hit OK, and we'll see the changes to our mask. Photoshop's being a little bit slow today. Here we go. So we've got our subject and product on one layer, and the next layer we have that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load that as a selection by hitting Control, clicking on the mask, and I'm going to hit this half black, half white circle and apply a solid color fill layer. That should bring up your color picker. Now you can make your silhouette completely black, but if you want to, you can also make them a fun color. I'm going to leave mine as black. The next thing I'm going to do is hit that same button again, and I'm going to say solid color, and I'm going to create my background. Your background, you want to be a bright, bold, vibrant color of some sort. I'm going to go with maybe this kind of green. The hair we could clean up here in a minute if we want to. And then it's just a matter of bringing back the product into the shot. So I have a couple different layers right here. I'm going to bring my original layer up to the top, which completely covers up everything. I'm going to add a mask, and I'm going to invert my mask by hitting Control-I. So now my mask is completely black, meaning none of this layer shows. What I'm going to do now is to just zoom in here, and with my brush tool, start painting white, and wherever I paint white is going to make my product show up. Now, another way you could do that is we could get a selection of our product first, using my quick selection tool to click and drag around my product to make sure we have a pretty good selection of it. It's looking pretty nice. Couple spots that are messed up. When you get into it, we could switch to the lasso tool. I'm holding Shift to add to my selection. Pretty nicely done. There we go. And if I've done that, here's why I did that. I can now just hit the mask button. Everything else goes away. So there we go. We've got our subject holding a product there. Our subject is silhouetted. We've got a bright, bold, vibrant background color. The only other thing we would need would be a logo. Now, of course, I'm now second guessing, wishing I did have fingers on the object in a different spot, but we do have theoretically some sort of a movement pose there. I went ahead and brought in a logo for this particular company. I'm going to get a selection of the logo, get rid of the white. So we'll switch over to the magic wand tool. I'm going to uncheck contiguous, click on the black, and hit the mask button again. Maybe we want the logo to be black. If we do, that fits well with this ad. We can hit Control-T, make it a little bit larger, put it in the bottom corner or the top corner, wherever we feel like works best. I feel like this image would work well with just some text at the top to complete the effect, but there we go. That's all we needed to do for this one. We started off with just a picture which looked like this. We then selected our subject. We used the select and mask dialog to smooth out our selection and refine it. That allowed us to get a silhouette. We then added in a background using a color fill layer. We then used a mask and the quick selection tool to add the product back into the image, and copied and pasted a logo from the internet to complete the effect. And that was how we created this ad in the vein of Apple's old iPod advertisements. Let's see what you guys can do.